Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April 6, 2021 Zoom Internet meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let me introduce for you the other members of the commission we have with us this evening. Commissioner Tom Torrenti, Commissioner Kevin Cornell, Commissioners Judy Smith, Paul Kaplan, and we have Zoning Enforcement Officer Jack Demergen and Zoning Administrative Assistant Tammy Trantalis. I have some other people I see in attendance, but we'll introduce them when we get to their matter on our agenda. So let's get started right away. First item on our agenda is a review of the minutes from the March 16, 2021 meeting. Does everyone have the minutes? And have they had a chance to look them over?
Yes.
Any comments?
I have a couple of comments, unless you want to just go page by page and ask people if they have a comment on the particular page.
Well, it'll surprise you, but I have no comments on the minutes myself, which I know is unusual.
Okay, well, that would be a surprise.
So Kevin, why don't you lead the way if you have some comments? Maybe I misread them all, Tammy.
No, I'm sure you read them perfectly. No errors.
So, page 3, last paragraph on the bottom of the page starts, the first sentence is, Commissioner Cornell stated that this could be a thoughtful, elegant use. If you could change could be a thoughtful, elegant use to was since you used the word elegant, I'm guessing I said it. So was an elegant, well thought out concept. The concept is a very good concept.
Okay.
Then on page 5, first full paragraph, so second line of the paragraph goes, the applicant thought of putting in an application together. If you could insert after together, that fell.
Okay.
Within, and then insert after, within the, then insert the word current, so that it reads, an application together that fell within the current regulation.
Okay, got it.
And that is what I had.
Okay.
Anybody else? Paul, Tom?
No, I'm fine.
Judy?
All set.
All right, then let's have a motion to accept the minutes if someone would do that.
So moved.
All right, Paul Kaplan moves to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Torrenti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
All right, next item on the agenda is old business. Does anyone want to bring up anything under that topic this evening? All right, hearing nothing, we'll move on to new business. Item number 3. Any new business to discuss?
No.
All right. Item number 4, report of the zoning enforcement officer. Jack, what do you have for us?
I got a little bit for you today. I know at the last meeting, we briefly spoke about the outdoor seating regulations and possibly expanding that to other uses, specifically a smoke or a cigar shop, which I have been in contact with the owner of a cigar shop in town, kind of spoke about it with him. So I think sometime in the near future, we might see some amended language in the regulations in front of us, specifically regarding the use of outdoor seating from a business other than a food establishment, which is the only business that we allow to have outdoor seating currently. Kind of piggybacking.
There would be an applicant, this is not something on our own initiative.
Oh yeah, no. He's going to be bringing forward, but just sometime in the near future, he said he's going to bring in some proposed language. And kind of piggybacking off of the outdoor seating topic, the governor just passed a bill that essentially extended last year's relaxed outdoor seating regulations into this year. So if you all remember last year, what currently outdoor seating needs a special use permit, last year it did not because of COVID-related issues and trying to be business friendly. The governor did pass a bill, I believe it was last week, stating that essentially the same exact thing is going to be happening for this summer. So the only thing that these restaurants or whoever wants the outdoor seating would need to submit to us is a reasonably drawn plan that the necessary department heads can look at and determine that the health, safety, and welfare of the patrons and the surrounding properties are not impacted. So I just wanted to let you guys all know that it's the same thing from last year. They extended it until this time next year.
Jack, does the governor have the authority? Has anyone talked to Vinny about whether or not the executive orders, if they terminate, does the order that you just mentioned, does that continue on after he has?
I believe it wasn't an executive order. It was actually a bill that was passed.
Oh, okay.
So, but it does piggyback off of, I think the executive order was like 7MM or 7MO that was specifically stated in the bill that essentially said we are building off of this executive order and essentially allowing for the same criteria this year as well as last year.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was pretty much my my whole spiel. But as outdoor dining goes, obviously we're going to be seeing a lot more as well. And I know there are some restaurants that are interested in permanent outdoor seating, so we might see an uptick in the special use application requests as well, even on top of the temporary permits that are being allowed now.
Temporary permits are all handled administratively, right? I mean, nothing.
Correct. Yeah,
nothing needs to go to the commission.
Excludes the need to go to the commission and essentially takes away a lot of the requirements that most towns have on submitting a sealed site plan and providing essentially the bare minimum for what we need to determine, making sure that no health, safety, and welfare is being impacted by any of these people who want the temporary seating. So as long as they submit a reasonably drawn plan to us and, fill out enough information where the sanitarian, the fire marshal, and police feel as though they have enough information to act on, then that is the minimum that they need to meet. Other than that, I don't have anything. If anybody wants to bring anything up, I'm all ears.
Are there any projects under construction that you're paying attention to right now, or?
Yeah, 197 Indian River just started up again. I get regular reports from them and actually just told them that I'm looking to take a walk around next time the engineers are on site. I was actually working with the new developer at Beecher Walk as well. That is the development behind the transfer station currently. It's switched hands quite a few times from what I understand, and the building inspector and I have been sitting down with the new developer, just trying to keep everything moving and making sure everybody's on the same page.
When did that last transfer happen? Okay.
I want to say it was 6 months ago or so that they decided to get rid of what I think was the second or third developer already. I mean, this project goes back, I think they got their original approval in like 2010 or 2012.
I want to say Ravenswood, but all right.
It was Ravenswood, and then it was Lakeside, and then it was Beecher's Walk. It's changed hands quite a few times. So because the original approval was actually so long ago, we were just sitting down, going over the approved plans, making sure that everybody's been on the same page, because mean, that project should have been finished a while ago. And because of I know some financial difficulties for a couple of the developers, they finally are getting it moving and moving at the pace that it should have been at since the start.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Looks like the Mission Barbecue restaurant is about done.
About done. Yeah, I think I heard the building department saying something earlier yesterday or today about either next week or the week after, hoping to get their CO to open.
All right, anything else, Jack?
I think that's it for me.
Commissioners have any other questions for Jack?
No.
All right. All right, then we can move on to our public hearings. We have, well, it's 3, but actually 2 this evening. 2 are related matters. But item number 5 on our agenda is the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Noble Energy. This public hearing was opened at our last meeting, our second meeting in March. And if you remember, I mentioned that I had a conflict of interest and would recuse myself from consideration of the application. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Judy Smith, the vice chairman, and ask Judy to continue the public hearing.
Thanks.
I'll sit here and watch. Since there's no audience to go sit in.
As he stated, we're continuing our public hearing, which we opened on March 16th. And the application is seeking to allow 2 new uses in our LI2 zone by special use. One is for an electric vehicle showroom, and the second use is a community travel center. Does the applicant have any more information they wanted to share with us this evening?
We do, Madam Chair. Thank you. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 147 Broad Street in Milford, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings, LLC. As we discussed last time, Noble is the contract purchaser of the property located at 88 Marsh Hill Road. We have not submitted a special use application or site plan application. This is, as you noted, Madam Chair, only a regulation amendment application to add electrical vehicle showrooms and community travel centers in the LI2 zone. With me this evening are Michael Frisbee, who's the principal of Noble Energy, and Kevin Soley, who's a professional engineer with Soley Engineering. When we met with you last time, I think I can fairly characterize our discussion as very productive and helpful, and I think the commission was justifiably impressed by Michael's, vision and creativity and his devotion to creating something really special on this property. But the commission, rightfully has some questions for us in terms of how you can better assure yourselves that what we showed on the site plan really would be constructed in light of the draft of our regulations. So, we went back to those regulations and added at least a half dozen other provisions or additions so that a number of requirements are now mandatory that were permissive in the past. So maybe the best way to do this is I can tell you that we have now made mandatory indoor and outdoor dining, made mandatory electrical vehicle charging, a minimum of 4 for the community travel center, made mandatory that there be a canopy over those charging stations. Also requirements with regard to landscaping, architecture, and stone walls. So if Mary can share her screen, we'll walk you through the actual additions to the draft regulation.
I got it.
Okay, Kevin, share. All right, thank you, Kevin. All right, Kevin, if you want to just scroll down to the regulation itself. All right, so, there we go. So the first addition is really just cleaning up some language. An EV showroom may also provide electrical vehicle charging stations, just cleaning up that language, but maintaining, of course, that shall not include inventory of storage of vehicles for sale. Just making that a little bit more clear. the next section for the definition for community travel centers, we are making mandatory, as I indicated, indoor and outdoor dining, and also electric vehicle charging stations, whereas in the past it was permissive. And of course, we're carrying through the opportunity to provide a drive-through where it's warranted. All right, next page, Kevin. We've added the provision that any one of these sites has to be a minimum of 2 acres. I don't know that that necessarily excludes any sites, but also to the extent that there's any sort of subdivision in the future, it could potentially eliminate other parcels. So no parcels would be eliminated in their current configuration, but certainly would act as a limit in the future. Again, in the indoor outdoor dining, that's mandatory in number 3. In number 8, we want to make clear that this would not be similar to a pilot truck station or anything that tractor trailers would be invited to come and fuel up by the elimination of the opportunity for high-speed diesel fuel service. And then and number 9 is the requirement both for an overhead canopy and for a minimum of 4 charging stations for electric vehicles. All right, next page, please. Nothing changing here. And then here's the other standards, and we have, frankly, plagiarize other provisions in your own regulations, understanding that the commission is comfortable with this language, and so we decided to adopt it as our own for this zone. So for community travel centers, landscaping the entire area of the lot not used for buildings, driveways, off-street parking, and loading shall be suitably landscaped with trees and or shrubs. Along and adjacent to a residential district boundary line. Again, that doesn't really apply to the parcel we're discussing, but we want to make provision should anything change in the future. There is a requirement for buffering to any residential property. Buildings shall be designed so each outer facade has an architectural finish. This is taken from the LI5 regulations. Buildings should be designed articulated to reduce apparent mass. C is also a mandatory, whereas elsewhere in your regulations, it's permissive unless otherwise approved by the commission. Architectural styles found in and around the area and elsewhere in New England shall be used and shall include decorative details on the exterior of the building that are appropriate to the architectural style being emulated. And then D is the stone wall. I mentioned additional front yard buffer requirements shall consist of natural stone walls limited to 4 foot in height to screen the proposed development, except to provide for necessary access drives. So our intent is certainly to address the concerns that were mentioned by the commission to help ensure that what eventually gets constructed, regardless of who that developer is as attractive as we presented at your last meeting. And we certainly fully intend and hope that's going to be Noble's going to be submitting that application and developing the site. To the extent that any commission member wants us to review the site plan, we're more than happy to do that. Kevin can walk you through the site plan again with both regard to the community travel center and the electric vehicle showroom. But we're happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple. Would the community travel center be open 24/7?
I believe so. Michael, is that correct? I think we certainly want to have that opportunity.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And the electric vehicle showroom, there wouldn't be any car repair done there. That's strictly a showroom.
Actually, there could be service and maintenance, but it would obviously they would all take place indoors.
Yeah, the intent is to create an opportunity for a service station that could service all the different variety of electric vehicle fleet. That's actually the small appendage here. That's kind of designed for that service area.
There wouldn't be any real repair. It would just be service and, software upgrades, tire rotations, that kind of thing. You're not going to see any really major service, not like you would see in a normal car dealership.
Okay, do other commission members have any questions?
Yeah, I guess my main, excuse me, my main concern is that we can somehow make the language restrictive enough that we don't box ourselves into that would be undesirable for this site.
We would
Sure.
agree with you. We would certainly agree, and that's why the those half dozen changes that I had indicated were added, particularly the special standards for the community travel centers.
Okay, so since we're acting in our legislative capacity at this stage, we do have to think about all the ramifications and of the other items that could go here. And as I stated last time, it's the use, not the user. So we could be enamored with this user and think it's a tremendous concept and want it for Orange, but we also have to allow for the fact that it might be something else. It might be so successful they need a bigger site. And so we just have to, in our planning capacity, really think out all the ramifications. So to that end, I mean, Attorney Nuff, I mean, is it, by definition, would it be possible for, say, a McDonald's or that type of fast food chain to meet your community travel center description?
Not unless they were to provide electric vehicle charging and the sale of gasoline. I mean, plus I would, you know, I can go through your regulations, but, you know, when there is a specific use that is articulated in your zoning regulations, I'm sure that restaurant or fast food are specifically identified. And so, you know, the natural conclusion has to be that if a restaurant is defined in your regulations, then and a restaurant wanted to go here, then certainly if a restaurant is not permitted in the LI2 zone, then a McDonald's could not go here.
And with regard to the electric vehicle showroom, I don't feel a regular car dealership would be permitted there based upon your definition. Or say a used car dealer, say Michael's project left the site and now we have a used car applicant. In my opinion, that could not happen.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Is it possible that an electric vehicle used car product, which may exist years down the road, could that possibly occupy the site?
Well, I mean, keep in mind that you're not allowed to have the indoor or outdoor display of vehicles that are inventory. And I think that a used electric vehicle would constitute inventory.
Okay. All right. Well, those are some of my thoughts that I wanted to share, and I appreciate Attorney Nuff's response. Other commissioners? Okay. I had one other thought. Would you consider limiting the size of the parcel? I see you put in a minimum of 2 acres, but would we consider a maximum? Yours is a 4-acre site. And can you see a benefit to the town if we impose that?
I guess there's no harm in making a maximum. I'm not sure what the zoning purpose would be. But I don't think that we would have any reason to object to a reasonable upward limit.
Okay.
John, I know this was something that I had not considered last time, but how many bays are we talking about for the service that we just introduced?
Michael, can you answer that, or Kevin?
Oh, I can answer that. Yes. So inside the building, it's slated for 5 areas for the electric vehicles. So there's really 5 slots. It's simpler than, you know, a typical car dealership service area because you're not doing a lot of, you know, the maintenance on the car. It's really software updates. Right? So when the cars pull in, you hook them up, you upgrade the software, you rotate the tires, you change the windshield wipers, and you move on. So there's not a lot of service there, but there's a maximum of 5 cars inside the building.
And the servicing that would be done would not be for combustible engines, just for electric vehicles?
Just for electric vehicles, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, the definition makes that very clear, that it's only service and maintenance for electric vehicles and not for any other type.
Where is that, Kev? I'm sorry, where is that, John?
It's in the definition of electric vehicle showroom. It's actually up on the screen at the moment.
Okay.
Kevin's clearly been taking drawing lessons from his kids at home.
Yeah, I see it.
All right, anything else from our commission?
No.
Does the applicant have anything else to add?
No, other than we appreciate your thoughts and your time and your attention to the detail of the regulation amendment. And hopefully, if this is approved, we'll be back before you very shortly with the actual applications for these uses. So thank you.
All right, if everyone is in agreement, I'll seek a motion to close the public hearing.
What about the public?
Yeah, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this application? Jeff Gordon.
Good evening. I'm with Codis Bodie and Associates. I'm representing Hartford Lodging Group and John Hall with the Cello Distributors this evening. My company has had an interest and studied this intersection, the interchange, since 1983. So a little bit of a cautionary tale back in that day, representing the Pasillo family. There was originally an Exxon Travel Center that was proposed on the Pasillo farm. It was summarily dismissed as something that was not wanted in the town of Orange. It was rezoned as an LI2 parcel, became a corporate park subdivision for the Petrucci Company. It was the genesis of the BOP district. When the Melvin Simon Mall was coming in, he was going to develop a 800,000 square foot office building on that site. But we know that when the cinemas, when the mall didn't go forward, that building didn't go forward, it begat the cinemas, which begat UI Eversource property in the Marriott Hotel. On the Melvin Simon side afterwards, after that was denied, Lou Ceruzzi proposed a text amendment ostensibly for a Marriott Hotel, a Red Lobster restaurant, and the centerpiece was the Incredible Universe Super Electronics Store from the Tandy Corporation. The commission was actually poised to approve the text amendment permitting this until they were made aware during the public comment section that once the text was approved, it could also house a Super 8 Motel, Taco Bell, and Kmart. So Commissioner Smith's thoughts are well-founded that once you put the text in place, it is the use, not the user. So the commission denied that change, and what's notable is a few months afterwards, after the procedure, that chain of Incredible Universe crashed, and the 1,785,000 square foot stores nationwide became white elephants that couldn't be easily adapted. So again, the moral of the story is the text must make planning sense for whatever complying user may come down the road, not for this particular applicant. I wish the applicant well, but this interchange is the only highway gateway into Orange. The UI headquarters, the Homewood Suites are uses which will stand up well. Truck terminal to me, FedEx is a little disappointing, but you can't bemoan the missed opportunities there. But this leg of the interchange really needs to make a great impression. It needs a compelling planning argument. A car showroom, ice cream facility, travel center like the Exxon one, which was dismissed, could become just a gas station if this user doesn't move forward, or if he starts to build and technology changes. What is that building going to be adapted to going forward? Will there then become an imperative for it to be something close to what it is, but start to creep, a little mission creep? As far as the food aspect of it, in this district, the only proposed food use that's in harmony with the food service provision in the district is the special use that's attached to a hotel application. I think that's the only food use that's permitted in the LI2 district. And that is a restaurant that's accessory subordinate to a hotel, special permit, full service facility, sit-down restaurant, limited takeout, which is only incidental to primary use, excludes drive-through service, and establishments where customers are served primarily at takeout counters. So is this food use incongruent with the rest of your regulation? Is this going into a totally new area of food use than that which you already have? Only a very, very brief comment. I know it's preliminary on the site plan, but I have studied that property before, and all I can tell you is people coming off the northbound ramp on 41, making a right turn on red, zip around there. And when we had studied it, we were going to move the driveway as far close to Salemi Lane to get as much distance and sight line there. And our concern for the hotel is people making a left turn out of there, people making a left turn out of the hotel. That's going to be something that's going to really need tremendous amount of analysis if this project were to move forward. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Jeff, and thanks for the history of development on Marshall Road. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment on this application? All right, well, I've got one more thing to add. When I get interesting applications, I pull out my books, and this is Connecticut Land Use and Regulation, Terry Tondro, and it does deal with the use, not the user principle, so I just want to read that and make everyone aware of it. It is frequently said that the zoning power may only be used to regulate the use, not the user of the land. The passage from an early Connecticut case is often quoted. Quote, zoning is concerned with the use of specific existing buildings and not primarily with their ownership. The reasoning behind this principle is related to the concern on which the uniformity rule is based. So I just, want to, again, we could be enamored with the application and the applicant, but we have to, in our planning capacity, look down the road and be sure that these uses are ones that we feel will benefit the health, safety, and welfare of the town going forward.
Agreed, Madam Chair. And if I could respond to Jeff's comments. Certainly with regard to traffic, that is an issue that is specifically related to the special use application. Certainly there is some relevance in this to this application, but really it's an issue that we're going to dig into the details with when we get to the next stage with our special use permit application. We're certainly well aware of the traffic issues on Marsh Hill Road, and we're confident that Kevin's expertise can help us through that any traffic issues. We think that, well, first of all, the legal test for approving a regulation amendment is consistency with your comprehensive plan, which is found in your regulations and found in your zoning map. And certainly we're not proposing any change to your zoning map, of course. And we think that the proposed uses are, looking forward and certainly not looking behind in terms of, making proper avenues for what is probably, in the very near future going to be a very important use in terms of improving air quality, throughout Connecticut and candidly the world. I mean, there's a lot of states that are moving to enforce electric vehicle sales only. And I think that that's probably something that we're going to be seeing more and more of in the future. And this is poised to take advantage of that, both with regard to the sale of those vehicles as well as providing opportunities for recharging, and then obviously recharging the people who drive them when that's taking place. So we think it's entirely consistent with your comprehensive plan. And again, if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Hey, John, for the food aspect of it, there's no kitchen planned here, I assume.
Oh no, I mean there are kitchens, yes, of course, that will be preparing the different food offerings, yes. And I think if you recall, Commissioner Kaplan, Michael had spoken last time about the sort of the elevated type of food offerings you would have. Certainly convenience items, but yes, there would be kitchens.
Any other comments? If not, then now I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cornell. Okay, then we'll close the public hearing on the application. Does the commission feel they want to deliberate at this time?
Under the discussion, I really feel that in the few years that I've been here, I know a lot of people on the commission have been here forever. I believe that the light industrial zone is currently performing its function as envisioned. Vacant land is being absorbed by various users who are providing jobs and an increase to our tax base at a low tax of the town provided services. That's why light industrial zones are such a win economically for a town. In addition, I think that in the big picture, retailing's changing dramatically between the internet and COVID and, retail, bricks and mortar retail, is under a lot of pressure. That is evidenced by vacancies up and down Post Road. And I think that an expansion of retail uses into this zone, in some respects, is going to have a negative impact on existing businesses who located in zones where that use is allowed. And you're really retail is a very synergistic, organism in that the traffic one feeds others, and people get into buying patterns and travel patterns. So, I don't believe I don't have any particular to add more retail opportunities in a zone that's currently doing what it's designed to do.
Okay, Kevin, thank you. Paul or Tom, your thoughts?
Yes, Kevin?
One thought I have, Judy, there's something about the project that just has a little bit too much of a flavor of a run-of-the-mill gas station and convenience store. You know, the concept of the electric charging and the electric showroom is kind of exciting, but other aspects of the project just don't seem to quite belong there.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. It could be just developing into another gas station, which, you know, and convenience store for me, I'm not thrilled, although I am excited about the project. I'm not excited about using our LI2 zone like this.
I mean, as we know, the LI2 zone and the tax generation abilities is vital to our town. I think it's a great concept and a great project, and I wish they would go to, you know, in a C1, C2 zone where they would be permitted, but clearly this is a parcel where they have visibility and where they want to be. I think the electric vehicle component is more appealing than the travel center. I think, you know, putting retail in a light industrial zone isn't something I've been a fan of for a long time. So I would think long and hard before I would do that for some of the reasons that Kevin cited. So does the commission feel that they want to take a vote? Do they, you know, want to deliberate more?
I'd like to make a motion to deny the application to amend the text of the LI2 zone to allow the use of electrical vehicle showroom and community travel center.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Paul Kaplan. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries 4-0 for denial of the proposal.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay.
You'll be very successful someplace.
I think it's a very good project. It's not the right zone.
Mm.
All right, let's move on. Thank you, Judy, for presiding.
Certainly.
All right. The next item on our agenda, well, it's actually two items. We'll consider them together. Petition to amend the Orange zoning map. This was submitted on our own initiative to change property known as 28 Salemi Lane, owned by Yale, from Transit-Oriented Development District to Light Industrial 2 or Light Industrial 4. And also the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations, again submitted on our own initiative, to amend the regulations by deleting Article 24, Transit-Oriented Development District. So essentially repealing the Transit-Oriented Development District regulations. So this has been kicking around for some time. I think we had wanted to put this, you know, to give consideration to this this topic and put it to a vote some time ago. Then the virus hit, and that threw us off for a while. And then I think we had assumed that if there were going to be a change, it would be a change to an LI2. And I don't know that we considered the possibility of converting the site in question to an LI4. So that led us to have to renotice the public hearings, which has been accomplished. And so here we are tonight. I think the first thing we ought to do, we should have done it already, is have Paul Kaplan read the legal notice. If you could do that, Paul.
Sure. To appear one time on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021, and one time on Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. Orange TPZC, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, April 6th, 2021 at 7 p.m., the TPZC will hold an online Zoom meeting to conduct a public hearing on the following: petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission to amend the Orange zoning regulations by deleting Article 24, Transit-Oriented Development District. A petition to amend the Orange zoning map submitted upon the initiative of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission to amend the Orange zoning map to change the property known as 28 Salemi Lane, aka Assessors Map 3-1-1, owned by Yale University, to change this parcel from a transit-oriented development district COD to a light industrial LI2 or a light industrial LI4. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 18th day of March, 2021.
Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, so let me take care of just one housekeeping item before we get going on this. The applications were submitted to the regional planning agencies, specifically the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments and the South Central Connecticut Regional Planning Commission and the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. All of those agencies have responded by saying that they see no significant regional impact to the proposed action that we wish to consider. So we have that. Jack, I don't know that there was any, we didn't ask for, nor do I think we needed any input from other municipal department heads.
No, I sent notice to West Haven and Milford just to be safe, because it does lie within 500 feet of an adjacent municipality, but they were noticed, yes.
Okay, and then did they respond, or?
They did not.
Okay. All right. All right, so I think that takes care of that. Just one housekeeping item that I had. I know there's at least one person here tonight to comment on the application. I think that's Attorney Joe Hammer, who represents Yale University, the now owner of the property in question. It was originally owned when it was approved for a transit-oriented development project. It was owned by Mr. Crowley. I don't recall the name of his LLC, but Mr. Crowley owned the property. You represented him then in connection with that approval. And now the property's been, train station is not going to happen. You represented the university in connection with the acquisition of that property. So do you want to comment, Joe?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good evening to you all. As the chairman said, Joseph Hammer from the law firm of Day Pitney, 195 Church Street, New Haven, representing Yale University, and Yale purchased property from Orange Land Development, which was the prior owner. I may just refer at times during my remarks to some documents that I submitted to the zoning office, I think a few weeks ago when this was originally on the agenda. So if people still have them, I might just refer to a couple of pages in there briefly. I think if we go back to sort of just before COVID started in March of 2020, Paul Denise, the then zoning officer, had written a letter to Yale asking if they had an opinion or position one way or another on the potential rezoning of the property. And I responded on their behalf That letter is at page 32 of the documents that we submitted, but essentially Yale indicated that it would support a rezoning of the property to LI4. And LI4 is an important distinction from LI2 because really the main difference is that LI4 allows university uses and LI2 does not. We believe that rezoning to LI4 would meet all the standards for a zone change. It would be in accordance with the town's comprehensive plan. It would be a reasonable use and have a reasonable relationship to the police power. And it would also be consistent with the surrounding area and with the commission's prior creation of the LI4 district and the commission's rezoning of the former Bear property to LI4. But just to sort of orient you, 28 Salemi Lane, which is Assessor Parcels 3-1-1, is located to the east of where the paved portion of Salemi Lane ends, and it abuts the portion of Yale's West Campus that's located in orange all along the northern boundary. And all of Yale's West Campus, which is it's a series of assessor parcels, but the entire West Campus is zoned LI4, and the West Campus LI4 zone abuts the 4 properties that are located on the north side of Salemi Lane, as well as the hotel property. It was early 2008 when the commission created the LI4 district and rezoned the then Yale property, former Bear property, to LI4 in order to enable university type uses of the property. Yale acquired the property because of its adjacency to its existing West Campus and the fact that they believe it can be used to help support the university use and function of the West Campus property. Also, just to remind you, I know a number of you were there at the time, in 2016, the commission zoned the 28 Salemi Lane property as TODD zone and granted approvals for a large mixed-use development, which consisted of 200 multifamily dwelling units in 6 buildings, 21,000 square feet of non-residential space, and a public parking garage with 566 spaces to support a commuter rail station. Pages 24 to 27, actually, I want to just go back. Page 23 of the materials that we submitted just has a map that shows you the relationship of 28 Salemi Lane to the Yale West Campus and to the other surrounding properties. On pages 24 to 27 of the handout, the LI4 and LI2 regulations are there under the LI4 section. Starting on pages 24, I highlighted in yellow the uses that can be done in the LI4 zone that cannot be done in the LI2. There's also some provisions that deal with parking, specifically in the LI4 zone, that are unique as well. And again,
Joe, can I interrupt you for?
Sure.
Joe, it's accurate to say that the difference between the LI2 and the LI4 permitted uses is essentially the university uses.
That is correct, with some associated provisions. Yes, that is really the main difference when it comes to the bulk and density. You know, how much development can be done. The LI4 is identical, really, to the LI2.
But it's important to note that one of the university uses that's not permitted is dwelling unit.
That is correct. Just like in the LI2 district, there's a prohibited use section in the LI4 regs, and it specifically says dwellings are not permitted, just like it does in the LI2 regs.
Right.
Yep.
And there are some differences in terms of special uses, right?
For example, there's some extra provisions regarding daycare that's associated with that type of campus university environment. Yes, there's also some provisions that deal with the reality that that campus, going back to the Bear days, bridges two towns. Part of it's in West Haven, so there's some provisions that allow parking on the other side of the town line to be taken into account, since it's all functioning as a single facility, things like that.
Right, and you could have food service, but it can't be open to the public, really. It can't be advertised by signs on the main road, offering, cafeteria food or any other kind of food service on campus.
Yes, exactly. That's correct. And
as a special use.
Correct. And in going through the regs, in preparation for, and actually going through the minutes from 2008, the commission very carefully crafted those types of provisions so that it was conducive to enable university use, but not, to open things up to general retail uses, not to dwellings, etc.
Page, that would be on page 25 of your handout, right, Joe? Just for the other commissioners.
Let's see. Yes, page 25. And if we actually go back to, right, so the first few on 24 are sort of the university things. I think on 25 under P, there's some accessory use language again that's specific to university and college. Under 96.2, the daycare that I referenced, exactly some of those things. And on 26, the stores and other buildings are very limited. It's not general retail. It's associated with the campus environment, the students, etc. I think you added the word educational institutions and faculty and students in sub D. Those were all the types of things you looked at in 2008. Under section 96.3 prohibited uses under A, that's the prohibition of dwellings that we talked about a moment ago. And then on page 27, section 383-96.9, that's where there's some language under A, which talks about for the off-street parking, you can consider spaces that are located on the West Haven portion. So those were all crafted by the commission in 2008. And I've attached some of your minutes at pages 1 through 16 from the 2008 process that you went through, both to create the regulations, the LI4 regulations, and to rezone the property to LI4. And I just wanted to touch upon a few things that were said then by both the commission and others, because I think they really apply to potential rezoning to LI4 of 28 Salemi Lane as well. So on page, and again, I've highlighted in yellow to try to just make these easier for you to find, but on page 5, the chairman indicated that the town, look forward to the economic opportunities that Yale would bring to the town. On page 6, the chairman referenced the comprehensive town plan and indicated that the Yale proposal was in concert with the health, safety, and welfare of the community, while at the same time fostering prosperity, that it met many of the goals of the plan, including quality design, no adverse impact, and increasing the viability of the economic development district. The Economic Development Corporation, a representative, indicated that board overwhelmingly supported the proposal, that Yale's presence is good news for the town of Orange, and that the research and scientific components of the campus would spill over to other segments of the town. The first selectman spoke as well about the benefits of having a university in the town, the benefits that could come from that, and that those types of things. And then if you go over to the next meeting minutes, all the way up to page 12, there's a reference to Commissioner Kaplan in the motion to approve, including that the application was consistent with the town plan of conservation and development and beneficial for the town. And that was on the creation of the LI4, and then on the rezoning of the Bear campus. During that one, the motion by Ms. Smith Morgan indicated that the application was found to be consistent with the plan of conservation and development and would promote the beneficial development of the town. So we would submit to you that rezoning 28 Salemi to LI4 would help foster those same benefits. And would also, as I said, meet the applicable standards for a zone change. And just very briefly, we think it would be consistent with and complementary to the existing LI4 designation of the adjoining property, as well as with your comprehensive plan in terms of your scheme of zoning regulations and the zoning map. As I said, the 28 Salemi on the north borders LI4. There are no residentially zoned properties abutting 28 Salemi. They're all zoned either LI4 or LI2. It would be in keeping with the character of the area. And I guess one side aspect of this is by undoing the TODD zoning and development plan and going to the LI4. One thing that struck me is the floor area ratio was 1.65 as approved for the Orange Land development. If this is rezoned to LI4, the maximum floor area will be 0.8 under the regulation. So it basically cuts in half the floor area that could be built on this property. It eliminates 200 dwelling units and a 500 plus space commuter garage. There's also some goals in your 2015 Orange Plan of Conservation and Development. This is on pages 17 through 22 of the handout. Residents at one of the meetings that was held with the community during the formation of the plan commented that having Yale in town was an asset. There's references to West Campus in the context of guiding institutional development, the possibility of additional use changes as the campus evolves. So I would submit that this is a logical extension of that. And there's also in the plan encouragement of local employers to promote mass transit, walking, and biking, which Yale does. So I submit it furthers and is consistent with all of those things. So for those reasons, we hope that you will consider a rezoning to LI4. I'm happy if there are any questions I could answer to do so.
Does Yale have any opinion on our, on us repealing the TOD regulations as opposed to keeping them in effect?
Yeah,
as an overlay potential?
I don't think we have anything to offer on that. We were really addressing the specific proposal to rezone this property. I think I guess I was sort of looking at them as two distinct questions or proposals. And, on the larger issue, we, defer to the commission and what others might have to say to you.
Okay. Is that it, Joe? Thank you very much. That was a very comprehensive presentation, very helpful.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else in attendance who has comments on the application? Jeff?
Thank you. Again, Jeffrey Gordon from Codespodian Associates, again, representing Hartford Lodging and DiCello Distributors, John Hall. Again, it's a little unusual to conflate these two things because they really are two separate issues in the same neighborhood, so to speak. Representing those two entities, we were, one of them is an immediate abutter who does encumber a piece of the Yale property that you're changing the zone as a sewer easement going through that piece. And secondly, the hotel is within 50 feet or so of that piece and would have been good to be part of the group that gets notified when you're changing a zone. I know a town doesn't have to do it, but if we ever make an application, we have to notify everybody. I think that it would be a good service for the town to do the same thing for its abutters. But be that as it may, again, it's a little unusual to have a zone change where it's either this zone or that zone. Really, I agree wholeheartedly with Attorney Hammer that LI4 is the appropriate choice for this, and we certainly support that. And when you're ready, we do have something, an opinion to share on the rescinding of the TOD section of the regulations.
I'm ready. Speak.
Okay. All right. Our first thing is you could change the Yale piece to LI4 and leave it as an underlying district, just like the rest of the Cello distributors is an LI2 underlying district. We see no real advantage to repealing the regulation. The Secretary of Transportation has targeted improved rail service as part of the infrastructure funding priority. Projects which are in the process would take priority, whether it's built by Yale or on the DiCello site. You only get one place by the railroad to build a rail station, and if the funding is going to start to be loosened up, and it could be a priority, it would certainly be a better investment for housing, business, and jobs than going to a golf course or something of that nature that the town is investing in. It would give opportunity to reinvigorate the existing businesses, perhaps entice new ones to town. It was a focus of the plan of development. I went through your plan of development. To take that out, you really should be amending your plan of development because you're talking all through the plan of development about encourage transit-oriented development. There's pages of it. I was just going through it briefly. So as a planning body, also, you're certainly aware of the current legislation that's being debated in Hartford to recraft zoning statewide as it pertains to housing. Senate Bill 1024 is now out of committee. It's moving forward. The discussions are continuing on the aspect of TOD areas being highlighted for diverse, higher density opportunities. That was sectioned off of the committee release, but they're still talking about TOD areas as places where a higher density housing opportunities could be implemented. But what's really important is part of that legislation being promoted to balance housing in Connecticut is the elimination of a word or a phrase that has been found to be exclusionary in suburban zoning, and that is denying something or writing a regulation about the character of the area, town, neighborhood, whatever. So if you lose the opportunity to build in this area, an unforeseen ripple effect could be pushing it into the residential areas more. Maybe that's what you see down the road, but again, it is to some communities consistently rezoned to light industrial to avoid 8-30G. That was how you prevailed on the lawsuit on the Delito property, but with changes in the statewide zoning, you're going to see more stuff going into the neighborhoods, whether, especially in large lot, single family districts. That's the real target of the new legislation. If you haven't been following it, it's really kind of interesting, but it seems like it's going to have some passage there. So I don't see any real rush to eliminate this. The underlying districts remain in place. A train station, if money comes in, could either go on the DiCello piece or I never know. Maybe Yale would want to build its own train station someday, but
They might, but they probably wouldn't want 200 units of mixed, high
and
density.
you might not care about that, but you have the rest of the TOD area that could have it. if that's what you wanted. But I don't see a rush to eliminate something you spend so many years crafting when there's really no.
We're not rushing, Jeff.
I'll agree with you that we spent a lot of time crafting those regulations, and I mean a really intense effort to get them the way we wanted them.
But what was
But still, I don't think everybody was happy with it.
Correct. Once we started seeing what could happen when when people were applying concepts to the regulation, it became a little terrifying for me, and that wasn't what I had intended for that area. So
You're talking about the density, Judy,
correct,
right? Yeah.
correct.
Well,
The
usually
high density mixed residential use.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. That's what developers wanted to do. Great, they want to make money. They had the opportunity, but after going through that entire process, I am not convinced at all that would promote the health, safety, and welfare of Orange. And as long as our town does have the zoning ability, yes, the state will probably start taking things over. But to the degree that we do, I think we need to take care of our town and protect it. I wholeheartedly support getting rid of the Todd.
Well, again, the entities I represent strongly oppose that.
Well, the other thing is, you mentioned a train station in the future. Yale might want one. They certainly, if that opportunity presented itself, they could certainly come back to the commission. And
then you got to put the whole overlay back in again, don't you?
No. But maybe we don't want that, Jeff. Maybe we're not interested in the transit-oriented development district. We might be interested in just a train station.
Yeah. Well, the best place for a train station was actually always on the DiCello piece. He's got a siding there, and he might, he might be merging with other distributors someplace else, someplace, and that's a great location. But it really is what the vision is. It's a one place that you can do it, and it doesn't affect any of the underlying uses. They all could come in. And develop whatever LI1, LI2 or LI4 is.
Which we're comfortable with.
Yeah. And
that's why I think, I think the discomfort with the first application tonight was just that. I mean, it was, competing interest in one, preserving the light industrial zone and keeping it, keeping use of properties located in that zone to those that are specified in the regulations. And then, opening it up, competing against opening it up to a potential retail use. I don't know that I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I don't know that I know what Judy's position is. I don't know that there's any great groundswell of support for mixed residential uses in our light industrial zones.
Yeah. Well, again, you can choose where residential goes, but you might not be able to choose the density. In 2008, 2009, that this was the recommended area for a diverse, higher density area. So,
to which I would reply, it just didn't work out. I mean, as I said many times, the train just doesn't stop there.
Well, we always say you got to kiss a lot of toads before you find your prince. It might not be, it might not have been OLD. It could be DiCello who would build something that you would like, and maybe you could get a corporate entity there who would want its own train station. I mean, Bigelow T has got a location right on the train tracks there in Fairfield. So you don't know. I just wouldn't forestall that. If you want to recraft your regulation as time goes on, I could understand that. But to delete it completely at this point, I think is premature. But that's our feeling.
Paul, do you have an opinion on that question?
I feel the same way that Judy does. At the time, if it ever reappears and we have to deal with it, we'll deal with it at that time. I think that we tried our best at that time. It's going back several years now. I think times have changed. I'm not thrilled with the product, despite our really are trying to get it correct. I think that it was something less than what we anticipated.
I think you're exactly right on that point, because when all is said and done, we were very stingy about, the number of units. We said that, I think the regulation said no more than 200 or 200 and whatever it was units in the entire, Todd eligible area. And that left no room for anybody else.
Yes.
It was inartfully crafted because, one guy tried to squeeze all 200 units on 8 acres as opposed to the 30 acres, which is probably what you envisioned when you wrote that. I mean, that could have been handled in the text, obviously, but I'm not going to relitigate that. But I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Hall, who is a stakeholder in this area.
Yeah, but I think Paul's right, though. I don't think we as a commission ever got completely comfortable with the regulation we adopted.
Well, I think you were adopting it for you fell into the situation where you were almost crafting it for an end user rather than crafting exactly what you would be comfortable with. And you see how that works out. Doesn't work out usually. That end user disappears.
Any other comments? I don't see anybody else on the call.
Well, just, with regard to, we spend a lot of time and it's in our plan. Well, the state requires us to rewrite the plan every 10 years because situations and conditions change. So at a time and place, the Todd seemed like the right thing. History happened. It just doesn't seem like the right thing at this time. And if something happens down the road and there's a great corporation with a great plan, come to that commission at that time and place.
And if we were to repeal the regulations tonight, Attorney Hammer has pointed out that, we can't point to things in the plan of conservation and development that are consistent with that action. That we'd be acting consistently with the plan. Did that sound right, or that didn't come out right, or what?
No, take a look at page 90. The heading is encourage transit-oriented development. So you better change your plan of development first, I think.
Well, as Judy points out, times change, and what may have seemed like a good idea at that time, we may feel as a group that it's not something we're interested in now. I guess it's two separate things, though. I mean, zoning, changing the zone to LI4 is not inconsistent with the plan of conservation and development. It doesn't really speak to the question of whether, repealing the Todd regulations is consistent or not. Correct, Joe?
Yes, I think that's right.
All right.
Two separate issues.
Yep.
Correct.
All right. Any further comment?
I guess I would just, I don't mean to interfere in how the commission proceeds procedurally, but just to avoid, I know you'll do this anyway, but just to avoid confusion, since you have two separate items, I assume when you vote on them, you'll separate them and do each one on its own. And I guess the added element of the rezoning, the zoning map change for 28 Salemi is, setting an effective date as part of that and giving yourself enough time to do your newspaper publication.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we were to change the, well, I don't need to get to that now. We can get to that later.
Right. I guess actually some of the procedural things may apply to the other one as well, I guess. So I didn't mean to imply otherwise.
We'll figure that out. All right. So is there any further comment? If not, I don't think there's anything else to add to the record here. I mean, Jack, I know Jeff Gordon submitted an email that's part of the record, correct?
Correct.
And Attorney Hammer's submittal is part of the record.
Other than that, I haven't heard from anyone.
All right, then, is the commission comfortable that we can close the public hearing and have a discussion and action on the applications, on the petitions?
I'm comfortable closing the public hearing at this point.
Okay. Then, Paul, are you interested in making a motion to do
Yeah,
so?
I'll move that we close the public hearing. Should I do them separate?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I'll move that we close the public hearing with regard to the property known as 28 Salemi Lane and to change this parcel from a transit-oriented development district, Todd, to a light industrial LI2 or a LI4 zone.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing with respect to item number 6 on our agenda.
That would have been better for me to say.
Right. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And do we have a motion to close the public hearing as it relates to
Well,
the,
maybe we should deliberate on that. We close the public hearing, deliberate, take an action,
Makes sense.
and then attack number 7.
all right, that's fine. All right, then with respect to 6, Judy, you want to get us started on that?
Well, I mean, I feel changing the zone to an LI4 is logical. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as Attorney Hammer very articulately stated. In reading that back the minutes of 2008, we could reread them because what Bo Clark said, what Jim Zioli said about, and Paul Kaplan about Yale being beneficial to our town, it holds true today as well. So I would support going to an LI4.
I would as well, for the same reasons that are cited eloquently in the minutes. So I see no problem. I mean, the property is contiguous to the other Yale property. It makes sense that that they would own it and be bound by the same zoning regulations as the rest of their parcel is. So I do see consistency with the plan of conservation and development in terms of, as Attorney Hammer cited, consistency with the plan of conservation and development in changing that zone from transit-oriented development district to LI4. Any other comments?
Yeah, I don't see us giving up anything. I think it's a win-win for both sides. And it's very important that we, as with LI2, the LI4 does not open up any residential, and that's of critical importance down there.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. I mean, that's always been the case in the LI2 and LI4, that dwellings are prohibited use. All right, so it seems like we're pretty much in agreement. Is someone prepared to make a motion to, no, let's see here. As far as the zoning map is concerned, I looked at the zoning map, and I think the changes that need to be made are, one, we need to delete, there's an insert entitled, quote, Todd eligible area. And we need to delete that insert on the map. And we need to show the transit-oriented TODD zone on the map as LI4. Those are the 2 changes to the map that I saw.
A little premature.
And there, I didn't see the key to the map, but there must be one other thing that references TODD and describes how it's delineated on the map.
You looking for a motion, Oz? Because I'm prepared to make.
Yeah.
I'll move that we, and what, well, I'll get there in a second. All right, so I'll move that we approve motion to amend the Orange zoning map to change the property known as 28 Salemi Lane, aka Assessors Map 3-1-1, currently owned by Yale University, to change this parcel from a transit-oriented development district, Todd, to a light industrial LI4. I find it to be consistent with our plan of conservation and development. And I also move that the Orange map be amended consistent with what the motion, with the motion.
All right, we have a,
we need an effective date.
An effective date, yeah.
What date are we looking at? That'll give us enough time? Anybody? Help?
usually it's a couple of weeks.
Generally.
Okay, all right, so to be effective as of the 20th, or I'm sorry, the 27th of April.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the petition to amend the zoning, the Orange zoning map. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is Tammy still here? Where's Tammy? Oh, she's just not in
Yep, she's just, I think she's still here. She just turned herself off.
incognito. Okay.
Yeah. And Paul, I just want to clarify, you said the 22nd of April?
27th.
7th, got it. Thank you.
And the changes to the actual changes to the map that need to be made are as I referred to them. I don't know.
Yeah, I said the ones that were consistent with what we needed to do.
Right.
I didn't articulate them.
All right. Well, I don't think we need. I mean, Jack, I can follow up with you on
Absolutely.
on that. But those are the changes I noted that actually need to go on the map.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously, depending on our next vote as well, further changes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So that takes care of item 6. Then item 7 is the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted on our initiative to amend the regulations by deleting the transit-oriented development district section. Who has an opinion on this matter?
Go ahead, Ms. Judy.
Been waiting a long time. No, I think we worked very hard to craft a regulation. Got a lot of input. Worked really hard with our planner, and at that time, we thought we were doing something really positive for Orange. We had an opportunity for a train station and all that could possibly bring for our commerce in our town. The state opted to fund West Haven, not Orange. I don't know the likelihood that they would do West Haven, Orange, and Milford. Don't know. But when the funding was due for Orange, it was not given by the state. That combined with seeing what the developers had in mind for our Todd district sort of illuminated for me that it wasn't going to be what we had envisioned or very favorable for our town. So I at this time, given the climate of where things are, I think we can protect the town if we remove this district at this time. And if another opportunity should come down the tracks, then we will explore it at that time.
Well, I agree. I agree with that. Any comments, Tom or Paul, Kevin?
I would just say that I don't find us to be, I'm sorry, Kev, go ahead.
You can certainly go first.
All right. I don't see this as being against transit-oriented progress in Orange. I think that it's more of a reaction for us that we did our best with this particular regulation, and I think that the regulation doesn't serve the town well, despite our best efforts.
I have a question and/or comment, and so while I agree with the result of the TOD regulations as implemented, I believe we're required to make findings when consistent with the plan of development when we propose a regulation change. Is that correct?
Been my understanding.
So can someone, if we're going to take this action, can someone articulate findings of consistency with the plan of conservation and development so that it is appropriately passed?
You know,
At this point, we need a little more time to specifically look at that question.
yeah, I think that point is well taken, because the fact of the matter is that, I mean, the way I feel about it is that while I would, and as evidenced by how long and hard we worked on it, the board would certainly support transit-oriented progress in along the lines of what the plan of conservation and development lays out. That particular regulation wasn't in the best interest of the town of Orange. And that's how I feel about it. If you want to, I mean, I'm happy to send it to Vinny or one of his helpers to square that circle, but that's how I feel about it anyhow.
Well, I mean, I think when we adopted those regulations, I mean, we had every reason to believe that a train station was coming to Orange.
Mhm.
And when that turned out not to be the case, I think, and with the passage of time, I think we've come to view those regulations as, inconsistent with our plans to develop the LI2 and the LI4 districts. I see it as, very similar to the action you took on the first application tonight. I mean, it's a nice project, but I think we've so especially of late, gotten more, demanding about actually following our regulations and not being willing to compromise just for the sake of getting a good project when it's a project. Well, while it may be a good project, it's just not something that's suitable for that zone. So I think maybe with that in mind, action taken to repeal those regulations, leaving open the possibility that we could enact transit-oriented development regulations in the future. I don't see the apparent inconsistency doesn't really bother me that much.
Mm-hmm.
I was just asking from a procedural aspect. I think that district was a white elephant when you adopted it. So, but
yeah.
Well, I think also I've come to greatly appreciate the light industrial uses in that zone. And when we're patient, we're filling them up. We're filling up that area with great business like FedEx and another hotel. So if we look at the original sort of layout of the town, it was light industrial up on the hill and retail on Route 1, and then the rest all residential. Yes, there've been zone changes and, little nuances here and there, but that's pretty much how the town's laid out. And I think we need to, be mindful to keep those LI2 or LI4 uses up there.
Yeah, and I mean, in that sense, aren't we being consistent with our plan of conservation and development? I mean, it's, retail along the post road, residential north of the post road, our light industrial uses on, Edison, Marsh Hill Road, those, I mean, there's a I think, an inconsistency to having these regulations around, and the Todd regulations around anymore. It's not a place where we're looking for high density residential uses. I don't know if that makes you any more comfortable, Kevin.
Oh, I'm comfortable. I just wanted to make sure we explored it on the record that we basically are balancing two different aspects of the plan of conservation and development. One was transit-oriented opportunities versus enhancing the light industrial tax base generation and job creation of the industrial zone. Mm-hmm. And we're falling on the side of the industrial zone.
It's just like we did on the application decided earlier tonight.
Right, but procedurally there, we didn't have to have findings because we were not changing our regulation.
Right.
So anyway, thank you for having the discussion.
All right, is there anything, we've closed the public hearing, we've discussed it. Do we want further discussion? Is somebody prepared to make a motion with respect to this petition? What's our pleasure at this point?
I mean, do we feel that we need to send this for help to Vinny? I mean, I don't feel the need at this point. I think we are consistent with our actions would be consistent with the plan of conservation development. You can always pull out some sections, but for the reasons articulated by Judy and Kev and yourself, Ozzy, I think that we're consistent with the intent of the zones down there.
Right. No, I'm not. I mean, I at this point, I feel strongly that, the property is, that there's been great progress in our light industrial 2 and light industrial 4 zones. And this is inconsistent with that progress. I mean, it may look good on paper, and we worked hard on it. We got to something that we all felt reasonably comfortable with, and I think we probably voted unanimously to approve it.
Sure,
because we usually do vote unanimously. So, I'm comfortable in saying that it is consistent, in that respect with our plan of conservation and development, that action. So let's not beat a dead horse. Somebody prepared to make a motion then.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we approve the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the Orange Town and Zoning Commission to amend the zoning regulations by deleting Article 24, Transit-Oriented Development District. I think that it's consistent with the plan of development. It furthers the enhancement of our light industrial zones. Further, it takes away the density of the residential, which I'm not comfortable with down in that area. And I find it to be totally consistent with our plan of conservation and development.
We have a motion to approve the petition. Is somebody prepared to second the motion?
I will second that motion. And Paul, would you have an effective date of April 27th by chance?
Same, yep.
All right. We have a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. So that takes care of the agenda for this evening. Someone prepared to move that we adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a second? Commissioner Tarrant, you look like take second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Aye. Thank you all.
Good night, guys.
Good night.